Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. This is just a very quick implementation that we did within the SA Mint. It was us together with our partners from Wonderware Southern Africa. It was a very, very small project that started as a POC, and then later it became, a very big project. And I think it was one of the first EMI implementations in Africa. So we decided, maybe we need to kind of showcase this to the rest of the world as well. Just as a quick introduction, the SA Mint is basically one of the leading mints in the world, and we are based in South Africa. We're just over 120 years old. We are obviously owned by the South African Reserve Bank, which is our central bank, and mainly our three lines of business is the circulation coins, where we do the entire South African coinage, and then we do coins for the other parts of the world as well, especially in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, as well as in South America. Surprisingly so, North America, we've never really done any coins for this part of the world. Then the second line of business for our business is basically what we call our numismatics. This is now our collectors' coins as well as the investors' coins. This is where we do, the Kruger Rands. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them. The Kruger Rands as well as some of the natural products. They're quite popular in this part of the world as well. The third and the final one is the bullions. This is where we basically also more or less do, but it's mainly the investor coins that we do here. We're having a joint venture with another company in South Africa that's called Rand Refinery. They sell it, and on our side we basically produce it as the manufacturing plant. Well, this project started really when we just completed implementing what we called the model-driven MES. We were just busy, talking to our board and busy bragging about how, successful that implementation was, because we're trying to re-platform all our factory systems onto the new models. Onto the new model-driven MES, and we had just finalized and completed that in one part of our plant, and then our MD just came to us and said, "Guys, what about me? You're saying you've got all of these systems now re-platformed to the factory, but what about me? How do I see that you guys have done a very good job there?" That's when we realized that there was no management information. We didn't have any, clear, concise, and consistent information coming out for our decision making. There was no insights into the way the factory was operating. And also, I thought, this is me now talking to, the executive at the our factory saying, your factory is running blind because you don't know what's happening in your factory. There were no KPIs. Most of these metrics like the OEE and all of those were not there. And therefore, just the factory was basically running on spreadsheet and running manually. Planning was done on the spreadsheets. And then we decided, we need to do something and do something quite fast. This is just our factory at a high level. I don't know if you guys, okay, I can see from this one, so I'll just see if the laser is working. Okay, so the laser is not working properly. This is basically the plant at a high level. We've got three sections in our plant. We call the first one the processing area, the other one is the plating area, then the final one is the final products. The project was basically focusing on the two areas where we had just implemented the model-driven MES, which was the processing and the plating areas. And we had to do these dashboards that you guys can see at the bottom here. The project was just at a very high level. We started as a POC, as I said at the beginning, and after that, we're doing just the part of the lab just to demonstrate that we can actually do something and mine the data from the lab, because that's where most of the value was at that stage. And then we did some detailed business analysis, as well as then we did the source to target mappings just to map the data. And then after that, we did the actual development, which is your ETL development as well as the dashboard development. And then obviously, as part of any project, then you would obviously do testing and then you implement. This was started in April of 2014, and then we completed it around April again in 2015, which was last year. The solution was just an easy design, because at that stage we didn't have anything that was running the operational data. This is now from our factory. We just had, other, business intelligence tools from SAP, but they were not focusing really on the operational data. They were mainly focusing on the financial data. So what we needed to do was to quickly build an ODS for the operational data, and then after that we basically consolidate all the data that's coming out of our historian, the MES database, the spreadsheets, the planning database, and everything that we put it into an ODS, and then after that we basically started building these dashboards now. And that was really not that much of a very big issue, because the ODS on itself is basically operational data, and you can easily mine it and get near real-time information. This solution, again, it's similar to what I just explained onto the other side, but because we had partnered with Wonderware, we're just segregating the duties here, who's going to do what, because at that stage EMI was fairly new and not matured within the country, and therefore we needed the team from Wonderware to assist us with the implementation. This is, again, some of the data. You guys might not see everything there, but the data that's there, you will see that it's coming from the MES databases, it's coming from material handling databases, it's also coming from the spreadsheets, it's coming from other various sources, even including our old factory systems that are still being used in the final products area. All of that was basically consolidated into one ODS, which is an operational data store. And then after that, we basically started to mine the data and then present the management information that we needed to present. All of this, of course, is driven by what Janice has already spoken about, the nexus of forces, which is digital, around big data, the Internet of Things, cloud. But mainly here, we're talking about just big data, because we wanted to just consolidate all of this structured and unstructured data into one ODS, which we can easily then, report from. I always tend to put up this slide all the time. I don't know why, but it's because I like it. We just normally, just to show where the intelligence server and the dashboard server was sitting within our network, as well as where the data store was sitting, and also just to show you guys that we're starting to really reap the rewards around mobility, because you'll see that now we're using all our mobile devices, and we basically viewing all the dashboards from there without really any problems. Even if somebody is sitting somewhere in any part of Africa, they can easily log on to the dashboards and then easily check what's going on there, and then they can make the decisions. The benefits really were quite big, but the one that really surprised us was on the historian side. As you would know, historian is more to do with the integration of the data. And I was so excited about this, because we didn't have really something that was integrating this data so nicely before. We used other ETL tools like your SSIS as well as data integrator. But with historian, it became so easy and easy for us, and we easily just integrated the two data sources. But also the other thing was just on the scrap side. We just didn't see where the problem was with our scrap, and our scrap numbers were very high. And with this, we managed to see where the problems were. And I think on the next slide, you'll actually see where our numbers are now sitting when it comes to scrap, simply because now we started to see that the problem is sitting at this part of the plant, and therefore we needed to focus more attention there in order for us to fix that. Mobility, I've already spoken about that. We're using just the app Tableau, and then we're basically viewing it from anywhere in the world, and you can easily see what's going on into the plant. Big data, I spoke about it, the integration of the structured and unstructured data. OEE was also a very big problem. We started with calculating downtime, and then we realized, no, we didn't need to calculate downtime for availability, but rather we needed uptime. And then we had to change the way we're doing the calculations there. And then after that, we actually just, as part of the other factors of OEE quality and the actual performance, then it was easier for us to just get OEE figures without any problem. This is the scrap numbers I was talking to you guys about earlier. You would see that about a year or so ago, this is where we're sitting with these are coins, by the way, these numbers. This is the scrap of the actual coins. And last year, or right now, this is where we're sitting. And it's really one thing that we can easily see that it was really a big benefit to our business. That now our scrap is so down to such an extent that now we're no longer even tracking this as a measure of our performance, because now we can see that we've demonstrated the performance in there. I've spoken about mobility. This is basically, again, what I was just talking to you guys about. You can easily see and pick up everything from your mobile devices wherever you are in the world, and without any problems. Of course, it depends on the bandwidth where you are, because in Africa we're still battling with the bandwidth. This is, again, I mean, what I just spoke to you guys about. Mobility is on the browser, and you can also use your desktops as well. Just some of the lessons that we've learned as a concluding slide from me before the demonstration is that at the beginning, we really didn't have anybody driving this from the business side. And it was more of another IT project that was sitting there. And we had to convince our business that, you know what, this is not an IT project, it's a business project. And therefore, you guys need to be actively involved in the project. So that one to us was very critical, because once you have business ownership and buy-in, it becomes easier, because it's a need that is being driven from the business side. Second one is obviously around the actual data sources. Where is this data sitting? There's just loads and loads of data sources, but which data are you specifically looking for, and where does it reside? And also, I always say in one of the principles of data, I said you shouldn't really duplicate the data, but instead you must replicate it. So if you know where it is and you can easily integrate it without duplicating the data, that's good. But don't duplicate it, but try and replicate it. In our plant, at the beginning, we didn't involve everybody in the plant. And when we now started to say, okay, guys, there's your dashboard sitting there, they started asking questions. And we realized that, okay, we should have actually involved them very early enough. Then some of the things that are there is just around the clarity between the MES reports and the dashboards, because most of these dashboards are actually reports that are sitting in our MES database or in our MES system. And some of the guys are saying, you know what? Should I use EMI or should I use the MES reports, and which one is which one is going to be early, and all of those things. Once you manage to clear that fine line, it becomes so easy for you to deal with the guys. The rest of the stuff there is around just manual data sources as well. How do you ensure that that manual data source remains manual and there's no, somebody was changing it? When you try and see the single view of the business at the end, it's basically a reflection of what really happened the previous day or the previous hour or the previous minute. So it's one of the things as well that you have to guard against. But data quality, I always say, is the engine. Whatever goes through your system will obviously come out on the other side. So if the quality of the data is very good, I can assure you that the quality of your dashboards and obviously decision making and insights and wisdom after that will also be informed. That's basically it for me. But these are now just the dashboards as you guys, or as I've been talking to you guys. You would see that we've got data that's coming out of our MES data or databases, and then we've got data which is unstructured, and then you would see that most of this data, some of it is coming from the lab, from our material handling system, and then some of the data is coming from the production scheduling, and you would see that some of these dashboards are basically consolidated into one, like for instance the scrap dashboard, which we go into detail into, because this is where we really derived some value in the last few months or so. And in here, you can take it through monthly. You can go through each and every one of the areas in the factory, and you can pick whichever area in the factory where you want to see what scrap numbers are there. And then from there, you can also make some other choices, like which period you want to see this. And also, you can just easily check and see the numbers, and also how bad the production was in that specific part of the plant. And you can easily just go through all of the, the dashboards that are there and get to see the data. This data is mainly, I think, about 2 hours behind, so which is quite good for us, because at times we're not really looking for the real time, but we're looking for near real time data. These are all the specific areas, which is in our plating area, where we do all the plating of our coins. And you can also have your own options there. You can choose the number of months, the number of weeks, or even the number of years or quarters or whatever you want to surf the dashboard with. You can see processing, how processing is working. You can also see just how bad the production was in that part of the world. You can go back again to your dashboards again. I mean, you can go to the defects as well, which is, I'm not very far from your scrap dashboards. And then in here you can check all the parameters, especially around thickness, your bed production, the scratches on your coins. All of these are things that they can easily pick up now, and they can even choose which area that they want to focus on. See, I mean, you're not even going with machines, you're going with wax cells here, which is quite good as well. And then you can check the denominations at the bottom. These are all the denominations that we're doing. You'll see Swaziland, you'll see Zambia, Zimbabwe, Thailand. These are all the coins that we basically are producing in our circulation coins. So you can check which month, which period, the quantity, was it good. So this is basically all the dashboards that we have. We've done the defects, we've done the scrap dashboards. I think we'll go through now just the production one, just to see the production versus actual, or the plan, sorry, versus actual. And then you can choose the days, you can choose the months, you can see if you've done. This is basically just at a high level everything that the team can do now, which before they couldn't do, or they were unable to do or see about their own factory, which is really, really something that has helped them to make some good decisions. These are all the areas in our processing plant. And then if you want to just drill down on the data, you can also do that and see which specific work cell in that work area that produced that number that you're seeing there. If you don't like it, you go back and check exactly what really happened. So this is basically the availability that helps to get onto your OEE figures with quality and, of course, performance on the other side. But at the beginning, we started with downtimes, and then we had to change and then say, you know what, let us do the uptimes, because we thought it would be more accurate for us to calculate our OEE if we change from downtime onto the uptime. So you can see which machines. This is mainly our processing part of the factory. And I can also see when did they stop the machines and why, what were the reasons for that downtime, were they going on lunch, or what were the operators busy with at that stage. So you can easily also pick up, but also in all the areas of the factory, or especially plating and the processing area. Spoke about big data, which is basically just the consolidation of your unstructured data and structured data into one, and then be able to actually get the real view of how your business is performing. So that should literally be it, I think. Okay. So, in closing, just from my side, just to say it was one of those projects that we had to partner with our partners from when they were Southern Africa, and they were really, really good, and they assisted us because we didn't have anything to see how our factory was operating, and we had to do something like this. Thank you very much.